Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 435 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited that you are here. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, we have now shifted our podcast episodes to every other week because we have been working hard behind the scenes. We are going to be announcing that to you very soon as to what we have been up to. I do want to give a quick update for those of you who have heard me talking about the World Athletics Road Running Championships in San Diego. I was the sustainability director for it, put a year and a half's worth of hard work, energy, love into it. And this week it was announced that that is no longer going to be happening in San Diego. Therefore, my role in the event has concluded. It's been a tough week because I very much struggled with, I don't know if I want to say accepting it, but just kind of not jumping to that, oh, that was a waste. I should have known, the pity party, let's be honest. I did let myself feel it, and I feel like I've processed through it. I am sure there'll be other things that I can do that will be impactful, and I can hope that the initiatives that I shared publicly, that I worked really hard on, will be able to inspire someone to do it somewhere else. And ultimately, that is my goal. It wasn't about me. It was about doing the right thing for the planet. So if you would like to know more, I did share more in my email newsletter, which you can sign up for at runningforreal.com. You can also find archives on there to go read what I shared about it. And also on my Instagram, I shared a pretty honest and open post there. I would encourage you to go check that out. But let's get on to today, episode 435. I am very excited to welcome Jeffrey McEachern to the podcast. Jeffrey just ran the Tokyo Marathon, just completed his sixth star, and he is best known as a Peloton instructor. But he is so much more than that. We go pretty deep, pretty quick this episode, and we talk about some of the things that are most important to him, but also some of the things that taught him to view his body, to view himself in the way that he does today. But I didn't give him easy questions. We do kind of throw out some tougher ones out there. So without any further ado, let's get to the episode with Jeffrey. Friends, the days are getting longer. I am so excited that we are coming into spring. You can just feel it in the air. And that means that when I stumble down the stairs groggily to go get my AG1, I drink it first thing in the morning. I'm not standing there in the darkness, and I love that. It helps me to say goodbye to that grogginess and fully embrace the brighter morning. AG1 has such a great taste that sets the tone for a longer, productive, and energized day for me. Unlike other supplements that come and go, AG1 is a habit that actually sticks. I've been doing it for 5 years now because you can feel the difference. I have noticed that I have more energy. I feel like my body is functioning better. I really do notice it when I miss or forget to take it on a few days of a trip. When it's gone from my regimen for more than about 5 days, I really start to notice the difference. And that is why I've been using it for 5 years. So when it comes to my health, I want something I can trust. And that's why I chose AG1. With science-backed ingredients and real benefits that I can feel, AG1 makes it easy to support overall wellness every day. And that's why I've been partnering with them for 6 years now. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs with your first box. So make sure you check out drinkag1.com/Tina to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/Tina to start your new year on a healthier note. Jeffrey, welcome to the Running for Real podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited that you are here.
Thank you so much for having me. Good to see you. Good to hear you.
I know. Yeah, we've gone from being names, names on a piece of names on a computer, I suppose we are in 2025, not a piece of paper, to now having this conversation. Or you've already shown me your patience with me kind of being a bit of a mess this morning, which listeners will be very used to, that I'm not put together is not the word people would use to describe me. However, I do want to draw attention, and we will spend a good amount of time talking about kind of the difference between, having it all together and maybe not having it all together, but still viewing the world optimistically, still viewing situations as kind of like potentially could be the best for you. Relationships can work out for you, things like that. So we're gonna get into some of the things that you and I are very, very aligned on. However, I cannot not start with I know this is probably a thing that comes up all the time, but I know it wouldn't have been a jump. It would have been many steps along the way, and you can share some of those. But the journey of McDonald's to Peloton is an interesting choice, and not one that you see too often. So will you share a little bit there about what does that mean? You started your journey kind of at McDonald's. And how does one go from McDonald's to Peloton? Because that's not, that's definitely comes to mind for me, the squiggly, line of how reality works.
Yeah.
It's not a straight line.
And I love that. And I love that squiggly line. And I had to learn to love that. So I'll take you back to when I was about 16, 17. I was looking for a part-time job, and somebody I knew was working there. So they were like, hey, come work here. So it was just like to earn money on the side. And I was born and raised in Germany in a really small town, and there was nothing else in that area. So when I turned 18 and finished school, because my grades were not the greatest, they offered me a job there to do schooling for 3 years to become a store manager. Wow. And I was like, look, I like structure. I like what they were teaching me, and let's take it somewhere. The funny thing is, when I was younger, my dad used to say, if you don't pay attention in school, you'll be flipping burgers for the rest of your life. So it was quite a funny full circle. It's full circle moment for me to then be doing exactly that. And so I started working there, and it was just, at the time, it was a job that was accessible to me, and I liked the structure that it gave me. And it actually did teach me a lot for life when it comes to that structure, and, guiding me and who I am and what I want to do and how I want to function in life. And then, so I then actually I tried to move to New York for some time, and thought, I'm working in the fast food area. This is going to be an easy jump. That's what they do over there, kind of thing. I was young, and it was more of like getting away and getting out of the town that I was living in. And I moved to New York for a year. It was the worst year of my life. And then I packed my bags and moved back. So, yes.
Was that because New York was not the mecca of fast food, or was that the fast pace of New York, the harshness of New York?
All
of the above. Nothing to diss on New York. We love New York.
No.
What was it?
100%. I think it was the combination of I was in the mindset of, if I move away, all my problems will disappear. Second thing, it was 2008, which was a rough time at the time. And then it was, before I left, I fell in love. Like, all the stars were not lining up, and I was not reading the signs. I was like, I'm still going to move to New York, and spent all my savings. And I was just not happy. I wasn't happy. I didn't even give the city, or that moment being there, the actual chance it deserved. So, then I just had to decide, okay, if you're not going to go in 100% and be happy, then you might as well just go back and actually see what those dots that I was kind of missing might line up to, whether it was the love, whether it was the healing of the things that I was running away from. Growing up and learning, you sometimes then if I move somewhere, I'm literally taking a backpack with all the problems and all the things, even if I think a new city and a new, shining light, which is big, New York will change that. And it didn't. And I came back, and that's absolutely fine. And then I had some time still working in that industry and making my experiences. But honestly, there was moments where I was seeing, and also not to diss fast food, if that's what some people want to do every now and then. I'm not going to speak on that. It's more, I saw myself and people that were working there, but also people that were coming there, constantly making decisions that may or may not have not been that beneficial to them. And that's where I was like, okay, but I want to make decisions that are beneficial to me and how that make me feel good. Because at the time, I ate there every day. I was smoking at the time. I wasn't running, moving, doing any kind of workout. So it was a whole different energy that I had within my body. And I kind of was waiting for somebody to come and save me and kind of make me feel great about myself. And I realized nobody's going to do that. So
How did you realize that?
Because it just felt like it was taking forever to happen. And I was, and the people that I started looking online, that was the time also like YouTube and all those kind of things stopped popping up. So you could see more of the world and see more of other people that have, chased their dreams and got to where they wanted to go. And whatever I was listening to or kind of picking up was not anybody coming to save them, but them actually taking matters into their own hands and putting action behind their words. And, I have family members that I love dearly, and I'm not going to call them out, but they were living a lot on the words instead of the action. And I tell my dad this to this day, and it's funny, it's a joke at this point, but he used to say, don't do as I do as I say. And I was like, I don't really believe in that. So, I kind of had to turn that around for myself. And also I made some really stupid decisions when it comes to financial things. So leading up at some point, I literally had to move on my best friend's couch. I had to sell everything that I had and kind of find myself in that situation in the middle of the night. Like, I'm living on my best friend's couch. I don't have a job. I don't have any income. I don't feel good about myself. And what do I do next? So there was two things that happened then. First of all, that she was like, hey, how about you, try therapy? Maybe that helps you to talk about it, which was the best and biggest advice she could have given me at the time. And then
wait, can I pause you there then?
Of course.
You just said this decision, this friend giving you the nudge, which, love that from her, because that's so we need our friends, those the closest to us, to be able to, put it to us if we need to hear that thing. But you just said you were living on her couch and you made a choice in that moment to spend money, I'm assuming, on therapy. I would imagine a lot of people in that situation, and maybe, correct me, but a lot of people would be like, well, that's not step 1. That's step 12 when I am making a lot of money and I can go to therapy.
I think that's where we have to go back to that. I was living in Germany at the time and it was actually accessible to me. So I went to the doctor and said, I think, I need some help. Okay. And through the system that they have there, I was able to get free therapy in that sense because that's covered by the government there. So I think that was the saving key. Because you're right, because I didn't have the money. So I didn't have any money. Everything that I had, I couldn't even pay her rent at the time. Mm-hmm. And also that's kind of what led me to running, because as much as I loved this friend and she gave me this advice, but therapy starts moving things within you and you start asking yourself different questions and worries and joys and fears and all the beautiful things that we get to experience if we are in touch with, who we are, or get to learn to be in touch. I was like, I need to get out. So, and then there was a point where she wasn't working, but that was by her choice, not because of she was in the same situation. She was in transition of jobs, but we were basically on each other's backs for 24 hours. And that's when I said, I have to get out of here. And I had no money to go to the gym. So I literally just took the shoes that I had and went outside for a walk and kind of started running and did what we now call walk plus runs, where you walk and run a little bit and those kind of things. And that was the 2nd of December, 2015, the first time that I laced up and did that. And
what do you remember from that first day?
I honestly remember crying at the end of it because there was just such a feeling of freedom that I was just able to do that. I don't need anything else. Who I am, what I have right now for once is enough. That's kind of what it felt like. And I can just get up and do this.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And it's so interesting how many... You said about that recognition that no one was coming to save you and those kind of thoughts coming through, and the amount of people on the podcast who kind of others look to as inspiration, who we could look to as kind of at the top of the mountain, they've got everything together. It is almost always in common of them having that kind of experience you mentioned with a run. Yeah. Usually accompanied with, you tell me if this is accurate, you said you were smoking and eating fast food every day, so maybe, but this kind of running was absolutely not something I was interested in as a child, but this moment when it kind of clicked of wow, this is special. And it's such a common thing with people who, but who have reached that point of being inspiring to others. But as you mentioned, the key part was it wasn't anyone else that forced them to do it. It was them making a conscious choice. And so we can all apply that approach in our lives some way. Maybe it's a job you hate. Maybe it's a family situation. You need to uphold some boundaries. And it's scary. So maybe talk, to that point of like, you went out there and did a run and it was this special moment. Was it kind of like a go from there? Were there moments of, I'm assuming you were sore after that first run. Were there doubts that came in after that? Keep going with us. But I just wanted to stop and recognize that
Thank you.
That was a choice you made. And that is a choice that almost all the guests that come on this podcast that are, people describe and I would describe as inspiring, they all started with taking that choice, taking their life into their own hands. So yeah, keep going.
I definitely was sore the next day. I do remember that. And I just remember that because also one thing I did at the time, so I stopped smoking that day. I haven't smoked and never smoked again since that day. And I also started journaling. And now we call it journaling. At the time, I was just writing stuff down because my head was so full and I didn't know where to put it. And
I got to pause again with journaling.
Go on.
Because I think often with journaling, but also with just like writing, I really think it's such a good practice for us as humans as writing. But I remind people when they say like, I want to write a book or I want to write more, whatever. They think that it should be this profound, like quotable things from the start. But you tell me your thoughts. But like journaling quite often ends up being like, today I went to the store. I saw this and it was interesting. And it's very much like, not anything you would be interested in reading later. No. It's just literally like gobbledygook thoughts, but kind of, as you said, gets it out of your brain. So what did journaling mean to you?
Well, for me, again, because I was in the situation of not being by myself, having time by myself, living on someone's sofa, I just needed to put it somewhere. I need to let it out. I even sometimes found myself when I was running, I was either singing out lyrics loud or saying out stuff loud just to get it out of my system. There was something in me that just said, let it out. Because, we can get to that later, but, as in I think the only way out is through in certain things in life. And channeling it somewhere else instead of your mind really started helping me. And I started just doing that because my body was literally physically telling me, you need to let it out. So if I look back at it now, it looks probably like a diary of a 12-year-old because my handwriting was terrible. It was not full sentences at all time. None of it makes sense. It was literally like a blurting
vomit.
It out.
Like
a vomit.
Mental vomit.
Exactly. But it's exactly what I needed at the time. And the reason I think in the beginning, the reason I kept going back to it, if I'm being 100% honest, and from what I remember, is because it was literally the only time I had to myself. And I noticed that like the life before, and I literally call it another lifetime, the life before, I needed to please people. I needed to be around people. I needed to be liked and be loved by others. And there was a moment that broke there is that I didn't need that anymore. And I needed to figure out who am I without these people? Who am I without being liked and loved and trying to please people? And, I used to think, oh, that's so nice. You're taking care of others and you care about others. Yes, it is. But it was also a void that I was filling to try to be enough. And, something I went on in the journey in therapy, of course. And that's why I kept going back to running. And then I just literally connected it with, I love music. So as a child, when we go through our things as children, my go-to savior was music. I would listen to the lyrics. It would make me be able to say or process things I couldn't put the words to. So when I started that, I started making playlists with exactly these songs at the time that allowed me to have exactly that space again. And it was so cathartic in, moving to that rhythm and moving to that music.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting. And so does that mean you've always run to music? Do you ever run without?
In the beginning, I mainly ran without music and then started every now and then putting it in. I noticed that that really, letting something out really had helped me. Funnily enough, there was a time that I then only ran with music because also there in therapy for me, a lot came up. So sometimes it was also to silence the mind for a little bit and have a bit of distraction. And I go in and out of phases depending on how busy my mind is. I've now noticed the more that I want to listen to music, the more I actually don't need to listen to music because my mind is trying to deal with something. Yep. So I go in and out, of course, in the job that I do, I teach with music, but in general, when I run by myself, it's often my quiet space and my zoning and listening to nature or the surroundings or the things that are going on. And I really love it. I really enjoy it now.
Friends, my Achilles recovery has been so much longer than I could have anticipated, but I am now reaching the point where I'm starting to enter races. I am excited to have lots of things on the agenda, from half marathons. I do have a marathon in mind, and something potentially beyond a marathon. I definitely want to do something beyond a marathon this year. We will be updating on what that is. But now I'm at that point, I'm so excited that I can get back to my precision gels. The PF30 gels are this practical, efficient way to get 30 grams of carbs into your system fast. For many years, I was under fueling during my races. Now that is not possible with the way Precision makes it so easy. The gels have a mild, neutral flavor, so it doesn't give you this flavor fatigue. It doesn't kind of taste too sickly. It stops stickiness in your mouth, and it minimizes the need to wash it down with fluid. So it works perfectly. It goes down nicely. I love enjoying it on my runs and will be soon in my races. And I pair it with drinking the Precision electrolytes. I use the pH 1000, but they do have a free fuel and hydration calculator that you can figure out exactly what you need. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Now, as a friend of mine, you can get yourself 15% off at precisionhydration.com by using code Tina Sent Me. Go get yourself some of those gels. If you want to change it up, go get yourself some mint and lemon chews. I also love those very much. And remember to use code Tina Sent Me to get yourself 15% off. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So then we'll dive into some of this in a few minutes, but then to kind of jump to the end of the story here, you're a Peloton instructor. People can often look at Peloton instructors and kind of be like, oh, okay, top of the food chain, got everything going, everything is kind of fallen into their lap. What would you like to share with people about, maybe images can be deceiving, or titles maybe in this case can be deceiving?
I think I am so grateful for what I get to do. And it is honestly one of the biggest privileges to do what I do, because the sense of that I have the trust of a lot of people, that I get to be in their homes and train with them and support them and guide them on their journey. What I just explained for me, some people find on that platform, find in these classes. Yes. And I will just say that everybody has their own story. And, like you said, the picture can be the one thing, but also like, what got you there? What was your life like? And if you allow, and I think that counts for anybody in life, if you allow yourself to take some time to see their story and to listen to their story, you will see it's more than that picture and that moment, because everybody has had a story leading up to where they are now. So if I see someone, famous or whatever, I know they have a story of how they got there. So if you see a Peloton instructor, they have had their journey and they have had to, fight and do the things to get there and be able to support people on their journey. So I would definitely say that.
Double clicking on one of the things you just said, like the journey, the fight, although you probably didn't mean it in that way, to get there. Let's talk about people who have reached this kind of like high status within the running world of being very good at something, or, being a Peloton instructor. I would maybe put myself in the same bucket. People might look at me and be like, oh, she's got it all going for her. But let's talk about getting to that point without viewing it as climbing over other people to get to where you want to go. What does that piece mean to you in terms of giving out love, giving out positivity versus kind of going around the back and maybe getting to places by trampling on others? Why did you decide to make the choice to kind of lean into positivity, into goodness, and to love?
Well, I thank you for that question, first of all, because I think that is so important, especially that what you just mentioned with the love. I personally believe everything starts with love. And I think a lot of the things that I went through in life, or that I had to experience, I wouldn't even say went through, that doesn't give it the right term. Everything I've experienced or, learned and healed from, it all begins and ends with love for me. So that is one of the major parts. And I feel that the story that I have in life, what is it there to teach me, and what can I take away so others might not have to go through it? I know as like parents, you can't save your kids from the experience they're going to make, whether it's the highs and the lows or the in-betweens. I do feel that my learnings and what I have taken out of it and chosen to take out of it is something that I can guide other people with. So, that's why I will always share as vulnerable and honest as I can, because I know that there might be somebody out there feeling the same, going through the same. And I have to say, in the company that I get to work in at Peloton, I've been there like 3.5 years now, and I have not met anyone in that company that doesn't deal or navigate from that space. And again, we all have our different journeys of how we got there or what got us there. But I know, and I can say this with a full heart, that everybody is leading with their heart, and that is and that we see it as our purpose and not as a job or, what people might think or see what it is, because we have a purpose to guide people. And that is the beauty in it. And it's so inspiring. And it always reminds me of why I'm doing this and what I get to do. And also, there is that saying, be the person that you would have needed when you were going through things. And when I ran my first race in 2016, a half marathon in Berlin, I ran to the finish line crying like a baby because I felt a sense of healing. I took my fear and I turned it into healing. And I literally had this thought, I would love for other people to experience that. And again, I can't heal the world, neither is it my responsibility. But what can I take from this and give it to the people that I connect with, so maybe they can feel that as well?
Yeah. Thank you. That's a really powerful message and a good one for us all to keep in mind on our own journeys. So with that, you are known as Chief of Good Vibes. Now, people can interpret that in many different ways based on kind of maybe the way they see the world. What does that mean to you?
Well, I'd say there's a Chief of Good Vibes 2.0 at this point. And I think if we take it back to 2015, one of the moments or reasons of my, we could call it breakdown, because it was a breaking down of the person that I was at the time. And I don't mean breakdown as in being on the floor, but like cracking open who I am on the inside. It would have to do with being a toxic, positive energy of, I always have to be happy and everything in life is great and nobody can ever tell when I'm feeling down because I can hide it very well. And I think that's what cracked me open, because that is not sustainable. That is not healthy. And that's not how you should live your life. And one of the parts is, when I was 16, somebody told me, and that I'm not pointing a finger here, I'm just sharing this for the insight. So the grandma of my best friend said to me, Jeffrey, no matter what happens to you in life, always keep your smile. She kind of meant it as in she really thought I had a lovely smile and, and a good energy. I did take that on a little bit as in like, I always have to be that happy person. So Jeffrey 2.0, again, speaking of the only way out is through, you have to go into the pain. I don't wake up every day with the sun shining out of every pore that I have. But whenever I feel myself not feeling in the right space that I want to be in, and I wouldn't even say happy or good, but feeling on level and in vibration with who I am and how I want to feel, I question myself and I question the situation. And we have to go through those things and then pick out, what can I learn from it? What can I control? Because, we all think we can control different things and situations and people, and we can't. And we neither should we. And like you said earlier, and I think at the beginning of the, interview of like having it all together or having it all who does? What does that even mean? It doesn't, if you ask me, that doesn't even exist. If we are lucky enough, we evolve, we change, we grow every morning that we get to wake up. And that is one thing that I will say. I choose gratitude, and my default mode is joy. Because if I can wake up and can make a choice, that will be the choice that I make. It doesn't mean I don't hurt or I don't go through situations. I actually lean into them to feel them and to explore them. But then I also choose to, what can I take from them and how can I carry on?
I love that. I very much view the world in the same way, and I'm glad you mentioned that point of this isn't about things not going wrong, not or when things do go wrong, or when things are hard, kind of being like desperately seeking some kind of good thing out of this moment. Like sometimes things just are hard, and I would argue like this point in many people's lives, we are in a hard time. I did see reading up on you that you are an advocate for LGBTQ plus IA plus community, and there is no way around that. Like this is a hard and horrible and scary time, and you can't, positive wishful thinking your way out of this situation, but by leaning into it, by allowing yourself to grieve, allowing yourself to hurt, and be okay with that. Like that is how you can work through it to be able to maybe see some of those good things that come out of what's going on. So what are your thoughts there with that? Because that's a good example. If this is important to you, it is hard right now. Well, I'm talking in the US. I mean, you are in London, so maybe somewhat protected from it, but
I'm definitely mindful of it, and especially I work very closely with a foundation called RED, who fight against HIV and AIDS, and I've ran several races for them as well. I think something that spoke to me the other day is, first of all, I think also when it comes to this kind of work, for me, I think one important key is choosing of how you can be active. Some people it is about education and raising their voice. For some people it is about donating. For some people it is supporting the people that they're close to and holding space and having conversations. So I think in these times, I always ask myself, what can I do that authentically supports people that are going through things? I think that is an important question, because sometimes you get so overwhelmed of what you can do and what you think you should do or what others are doing. And one thing that really spoke to me the other day, and that is not the answer or solution to the situation that is going on, I just want to share this because it spoke to me, is that they were referencing, and please don't word for word quote me here, that they were referencing, when the HIV and AIDS epidemic happened in the 80s, 90s, that especially the transgender community was saying they went to funerals in the morning, then they went to march and protest in the afternoon, but they went to party in the evening, because that's where they came together as a community to find strength and to release what they were going through throughout the day. And I think, in these times, it is important to find, what can I do? How can I release and still experience joy, in the sense of, it doesn't mean you have to be happy and all those kind of things, but release something within you that is getting you through this time to then recharge and refill for the fight that you are fighting. And again, choosing how can you show up?
Yes, that is so important. And that, in these moments when you are feeling, I mean, for anyone, this is for when you're feeling, broken, despair, not sure how things are going to go, it is tempting to curl up in a ball and lock yourself away in your house, in your room.
That's not an option.
Yeah, but it is actually like leaning into your community. And I will say, like, for friends who are in New York, as part of the queer community, they are seeing and understanding the importance of being with their community, going to front runners, runs on Wednesdays, going to, as you said, parties or places where they can just be with one another and be that support and love of reminder of like why we're doing this, but also as a recharge, as you mentioned. So thank you for sharing that.
I would also like to add that in this case and this particular situation that we are in, even as part of the queer community, I am learning, I am listening, I am actually less talking, because I need to learn and again find my way of being able to support. As you mentioned, I live in the UK, so it's a bit different here anyway. But I hear and I feel, and I am in this situation right now trying to gather what I can to find the resources that I can provide in this situation. So I just want to say that also again, I don't have the answer or the current solution, although it is important for me to find that together with the people that are in the depth of it.
Yes. Thank you for that. Now, you mentioned continuing with this, optimism, seeing the good in things. You mentioned earlier that you were very much a people pleaser. You wanted to be liked. How is where you are at now, Jeffrey 2.0, different to, because some of the things that people might see from the outside might look similar. So how is that different for you, being this version of yourself that, is good vibes, is about, believing in yourself, seeing your potential, versus the kind of false versions of people pleasing and wanting to be liked?
I think the difference is that I, first of all, learned who I am and what I need and what fills my cup and how I navigate life. I think what really helped me also is seeing people in life that live their authentic self. And for a long time, I really disliked the word authentic because everybody was overusing it and, oh, I'm so authentic, I'm so this and that. One thing that changed it for me is that I heard a quote talking about the root word of authentic as author. And that makes you the author of who you are and who you want to be. And that gave me and I have goosebumps right now because it just gave me so much power. And I really have to say, and I say this with my whole heart, that where I work and the spaces that I surround myself, I can show up 100% as myself. I don't have to tone down my queerness. I don't have to tone down my color. I don't have to tone down how I feel, my vulnerability. I can just show up as myself. And once I started trusting that, I show up as that. And, I am a gay Black man living in the UK, and I show up strongly and powerful, and I demand the space that I deserve in the places that I go, not threatening or aggressive, but with kindness and love and respect for the person in front of me. So I make sure to treat the people that I see, that I connect with, how I want to be treated, how I deserve to be treated, how we all equally deserve to be treated. And luckily, I have created the spaces, but also, having said that, I had to let go of some people in my life that were not giving me that, vice versa. I wasn't able to give them that. So, I don't live in this happy bubble of everybody gets along and everything is great. I do make sure that I have the conversation, that I bring up the topics, that if I feel someone's uncomfortable with me, I will bring it up, whatever the outcome of that may be, but I will bring it up because this is me showing up as myself. You are showing up as yourself. If we don't match in that sense, what can we do about it? Or maybe we can't do anything about it, and that's okay. But as we said earlier, turning off, switching off, not watching the news in that sense, just to, put it parallel to that, like just zoning out is not an option. So if I show up as myself and I feel there's friction, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And, again, often we find we're more alike than we are different.
Absolutely.
And that has actually, and also saying that, when I started at Peloton, I was like, oh my God, do I have to change anything about who I am and what I do? And they actually invited me to say, no, bring yourself. That's all we want of you. And that was helpful. And that was also part of my healing, to see that you are loved the way you are, because I said earlier, it all starts with love. And there were some things that I had to heal. And I think people pleasing, the reason of that was because I didn't feel loved in certain situations in the past or in my childhood or in moments. And healing it with loving myself, which I found through therapy and, working out and movement and acknowledging the privilege of movement, to then being like, yeah, actually, this is who I am. And I'm going to show up as that version of me.
Yes, thank you for that. And I have to go back then to when you said about that first run. Now, you said that you cried afterwards because you couldn't believe that you had done it, but also that was a kind of catalyst moment. How did running continue to open up that box in terms of vulnerability? Because A, that's vulnerability in allowing that emotion to come out of you in that moment. But B, running in many ways doesn't allow you to kind of pretend everything okay. Well, at least within my own life, when I'm spiraling about something while I'm running, it becomes a non-option to continue because you can't be. You have to. It forces you to face what you are going through. But I don't know if it's just like the movement making your body work faster, that you have to process it. But yeah, how did running open up that vulnerability that it continued to allow you to keep evolving?
I kind of see it, and I love that question because I love putting pictures to it. So for me, and this picture makes sense in my head. So follow me here. When I started running, first of all, I allowed myself the time and the space to think. I think also the silence of not being distracted by music on my phone or things going on. That is such a win that we often don't have in life because we're always busy or more distracted, if you want to say so. I kind of compared myself to a running snow. Are they called snow globes? The little balls that you shake with the snow inside?
Yep.
I compare myself to a running snow globe. So when I start moving, everything within me starts shaking up, and it will settle. But it's like a whirlwind of like, okay, what is all in me?
Yeah.
And I can deal with it. And I can allow myself to be like, oh, that snowflake, I didn't know that was there. Or that snowflake, oh, that can settle for now. So that really helped me. And I sometimes see it like, it's bubble. You allow it to shake up, see what really comes up and stays up. Because as you know, in a snow globe, some snowflakes stay up longer and they take longer to settle. And I really see it as that. And it gives me the space and the moment to see which snowflakes stay and which do I need to pay attention to in that run, in that moment, or for the next days. And I have found some of my most profound new ways of thinking, solutions, worries, de-stressing on my runs and in that movement.
Wow, I love that. I've never heard that analogy, but that is a great one, and definitely represents running in that way because it as you said, it is one of those few moments where we don't have the distraction of, even if you play music, it's still not the distraction of our phones. And then like lots of thoughts are kind of through your brain, but it's which ones kind of catch your attention and do you follow down a rabbit hole. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course, and which ones keep coming back also, right? I think sometimes we go on a run and we're like, oh, that's still there. And then, asking yourself, because also, I then came to a point, okay, so if this keeps coming up, but I'm not doing anything about it, how do I think this is going to go anywhere?
Yeah.
So again, it was about taking that action to be like, oh, that keeps coming back. What is this trying to tell me? And, that wasn't a one run or one night kind of answer, but it also leads me and also gives me the space to get to these answers at some point, or figuring out I need to ask someone else, or whether it be go home and Google that. At this point, we can Google things, people have experienced things. And I found myself, and I still do that to this day. When I lived on my best friend's sofa, like there was nights I was on YouTube, like the whole night watching interviews, reviews, understanding other people's, thought patterns. And, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I really love Beyonce. I'm a big fan of her music, but also I'm a big fan. And that's something that inspired me at the time was her work ethic, or what I found online of her work ethic. So, so sometimes when I run now or when I'm training for a marathon and I'm like, oh, I want to go, take a break, or I don't want to run anymore. I'm like, what would Beyonce do during a 3-hour concert? She can't just be like, bye people, I got to go. And, I don't want people to all think about Beyonce in that sense, but it gave me a purpose and it gave me a guidance to have someone that I was like, that inspires me to keep pushing. And for some people, that's music. For some people, that's a person in their life. I think it's important for me as a guidance to have somebody that in that moment without being there can push me. And I think that's also one of the beauties of the time. So if we're always connected and always on the phone, we can literally have mentors in our life that we might never meet, but we can get their knowledge. And that's one thing that I then learned for myself and started visualizing and, putting up a vision board. Speaking of writing, that is something that came to me at the time. And I share this to say, because during one of my runs, I had this vision and I actually put Peloton to become a Peloton instructor on my vision board.
What year did you do that?
That was 2020.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Why was it Peloton? Like, what was it about Peloton that drew to you?
Well, I kind of, with running, I found my purpose. And again, after that half marathon, I was like, I'd love for more people to experience how I feel without even knowing. That was 2016. I didn't know what Peloton was going to be or was at the time. But it was about bringing that message to more people. I enjoy social media, but only in bits. So I literally delete the app off my phone every evening. So it kind of like has a closing time. Yes.
Oh,
so
wow.
it has
I love that.
Yeah, so it has kind of like, I once read this, and it was literally just about maybe 8 weeks ago. I read this post about, imagine if Instagram had a closing time every night at 6 p.m. so people would get to their families or the people that they want to, spend time with. And I was like, they're never going to do that, but I can do that. So I have a reminder that every night, actually it's 7 p.m. for me, but at 7 p.m., it's an alarm that rings, delete Instagram, and I delete it off my phone until the next morning, 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. you add it back in. Oh, I love that. I actually might start doing that. I delete it quite a bit, but not that much. And I kind of like that. But you're right, because I think that's such an important point of, we are kind of given this message by our phones, by these companies that, we're trying to help you. We're trying, if you don't want to look at it, put a time up limit on it. But ultimately, those don't work.
And again, we're giving the responsibility to someone else. I know it's a small part, but for me, it's like, actually, if they're not going to take action, I'm just going to suffer from it. And if I don't feel nurtured by it, why am I doing this? So what can I do to feel nurtured? And that is delete it. And it's an app, and you can download it for free the next day again. And what I wanted to connect to as well, when it came to Peloton on my vision board, is that I felt this was a beautiful space, because then I got to know the platform, like a beautiful, again, authentic place where I could share my message without it having to be on social media and doing all the TikToks and the crazy things, by, connecting it with the movement and the running. And there's another instructor called Cliff. His name is Clifford Dwenger. He's a bike instructor for Germany. And I had met him before because there was a moment that I worked for a German TV show called The Voice. And I was a talent scout, and he was on that show. So when I saw on social that he had become a Peloton instructor, I heard of the platform for the first time, started looking into it, loved what they were doing. And also, again, to the sense, he is a Black man. For me, like, I saw myself, and I was like, wow, if he can do this, he comes from, I know this guy, I know his story. If he can do this, I can dream this too. And that's when I put it on my vision board. Did you tell him this? I actually wrote to him on social media at the time. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. If you ever hear of any opportunities. And he said, thank you. And he was like, unfortunately, I don't have any hands, and, who gets to be an ex-instructor, but like, fingers crossed, all the best. And then it wasn't until like a year and a half later,
But you know that long in the grand scheme of things. That's kind of amazing.
It's absolutely not. And then I also asked him if he had anything to do with it. He said he had nothing to do with it.
Oh, so you have told him since you came. He knows.
We're colleagues now. We're colleagues, and
so he knows
BFFs
the story, because I'm assuming he doesn't remember that DM, or does he?
He does. We spoke about it before. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. That's kind of amazing. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. And also just manifesting what matters to you. You will find a way. And again, you took actions into your own hands. Yes, okay, he did say he didn't have he didn't have any choice in any influence in that, but you took an action that could have helped, and it didn't, but something else did. But you started the kind of the direction in that way of setting the intention. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So last thing I want to ask you about is you are training. Well, as this comes out, it will be a few days before Tokyo Marathon.
Yes.
So tell us, this one is a special one for you. And I'm sure many others are also, this will be a celebration for many of you for the same reason. So do you want to share why this is special, and then, about your journey to get here?
Well, for me, it's special in that sense, because first of all, I would actually start with, I get to travel to Japan and run a marathon. Like, are you serious? I still can't believe that sometimes. But then, of course, in the running world and in the marathon space, this is my 6-star race, which I'm really excited about. Also considering
does that still ring the same now that it's not the end?
For me, it does, because when I started running, first of all, did I know anything about races? No. And I didn't start running marathons until like a year and a half ago. So for this journey to happen as quick as it did, and, giving the opportunities that I've been given, and doing most of it for charity as well, like, I honestly can't believe this is happening. And if you take me back to 2015, where I couldn't pay the bread roll for the next day, for me to now say I'm traveling to Japan and I get to see the world, like, little Jeffrey is mind blown as we speak. So and then get to do it with the community behind me because, now that I travel and I get to run these races, it's not just me. It's not about me. It is, of course I'm running and I'm doing the thing, but there's people that DM me and that are excited for me or that are like, oh my God, you just sparked this idea in me. So it's so much bigger than me getting a medal because I don't believe in presents or medals and all those kind of things. But being able to show it to the people that are maybe aspiring to do this or just are getting inspired to do that, that's what it's about at this point. And I'm so honored and grateful that I get to do this. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
I know. Yeah, it is. It is very exciting and going to be just such an amazing time. So do you do this do you have like a mic on you or anything? Or do you do the marathons themselves kind of just for you can be in that moment?
I, if any chance that I don't have my phone on me is a good chance. So I will not have my phone on me. I will just enjoy it. I get to travel to Tokyo. I would get to run a marathon. Leave my phone wherever it may be. I will take a picture before and after. I will take them along as much as I can. I do feel there was a thought of me like taking my phone and like documenting it all. But for me, that wouldn't be authentic because I want to take them along. And, I hope there's going to be pictures taken. And I do know a few people on the track that hopefully can take some videos or photos. But if I'm being my authentic self, I want to be in the moment.
Yeah.
And with my phone in hand and thinking I have to take 15 videos of this is my one, this is my two. That's not the social media guy that I am. I don't want to be that person. I love when other people do that and that's their journey. It's just not mine because I will always I will choose presence in the moment over content for whatever. So I've made the decision not to do it in that sense, in that way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Because I think that maybe it is racist, maybe it's not. But it's kind of been a theme throughout this conversation. We all need more moments of presence and kind of being in the moment than we do disconnect and distraction. We've all got plenty of those. So that is really good to hear and very excited for you. Are there any other things you want to share with Tokyo about Tokyo or your marathon journey to that moment?
What I will definitely share. So when I started running and I heard about marathons, what they even are, 2019, I was like, I would never run a marathon. And in 2019, I cheered on one of my best friends in Berlin, actually, at the time. And it kind of just captivated me from that moment. And then, there was, limitations why I couldn't then run marathons. But it has been the biggest joy I want to say of my life, but that sounds so dramatic, but it has been the biggest joy because, again, I got to run most of them for charity, which gives them a purpose more than I can have.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, although, I'm in a really great position to run all these races. Like there's been some moments where I just needed that run. I just needed that race. I just needed that joy in life, because we all go through things. Just because I've now found healing in certain things and hopefully continue to, life still happens. So, you need those moments to detach and just be with yourself and run. And I got to run 2 races with some of my best friends and just to have those moments and experiences has been incredibly life-changing in the sense of the gratitude that I feel, or even something I think of often. And I've started sharing this with people and I wasn't sure how to, or if I should, but, we all go through life and experience things and, maybe we have lost people on the way. When I run these races, I feel like I'm FaceTiming them because they're watching me. And whenever I'm in doubt or when I want to stop or I don't feel right, I would, just say, hey, they would love to do this and they're watching me, they're supporting me. I can keep going. Even if that means you have to walk or whatever, it's just about keep going in the mental spirit kind of thing. And that has really just changed my life and seeing the joy that I get to spark in people's lives by doing what I do. And, if you follow me on social, you see that I will stop for a dance. I will stop for a hug. I will take that moment in instead of the camera or the phone or whatever it may be. And I never thought that I would be able to create this for myself, but also take others along. So that's kind of my journey as I head to Tokyo. That is beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, I have to ask, with stopping to dance, stopping for a hug, have you stopped for a tree hug?
I have not stopped for a tree hug, but I love that idea.
Well, that's your next thing to do, because when you were saying about, people FaceTiming you, I feel like I talk to the trees a lot.
I love that.
A lot when I'm running. Like I quite often, especially big ones, I'll be like, oh, you beautiful girl, or like, hi mama, is what I usually say to the big trees. Because that's what feels good to me. And that's what, like, for me, my running route is lined with like, where's the next interesting tree, or where's the next interesting piece of nature that catches my eye. Yeah. But as you said, yours is very different to that. And we're all going to have something different. But yeah, I want to set you a challenge to give a good, find a good tree for me and give it a hug on your run.
And what you don't know, and I just have to say this, I really appreciate you sharing that, because one thing on these races or in general on running is you're able to connect with nature. Yeah. And that's something, especially living in a city like London, which is beautiful.
Yeah, especially.
But, but it's those moments that I crave, that I want to be out in nature, that I want to be out there. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I also often share with people, like, whenever you see a traffic light, remind yourself to smile. Or whenever you see a bench in the park, remind yourself to, I don't know, enjoy the run. Like, so a tree has now, with you sharing that, has now set something new in my head. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, well, like, I often think about, like, what has that tree experienced in its lifetime? Well, especially what they call street kids, the trees that live in these urban environments. Like, those trees are rock stars to have survived in these like concrete jungles that they are often in. So, anyway, thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing how that evolves in you. Jeffrey, is there anything you want to finish off sharing with the audience today?
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for the space that you provide, because hopefully you can tell how comfortable I feel and just, sharing. And I really just hope that people, whether they are walking, whether they are running, whether they are, maybe new to this journey or just curious, that they get to experience a moment for themselves, and maybe a moment to disconnect or to reconnect with nature, or something that they've been missing, or maybe don't even know yet that is within them. And I really just hope that, it can touch people, this conversation and this exchange, to listen into that and tune inwards a little more.
Thank you so much for sharing. I've really loved this conversation. I will put links in the show notes for everyone to go find you. And if they're on Peloton, well, now they know who their next tread, that's what you call it, right? A tread?
Yes,
tread workout?
Correct. Yes.
Who their next tread instructor is going to be. If they don't already, go to your workouts. But thank you so much. I appreciate you. And look forward to seeing what is to come. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll send you a picture of me hugging a tree. Definitely.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Before we go any further, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Running for Real team. Without them, I would not be able to do barely anything compared to what I'm able to do today. They are behind the scenes. They are there for me. I am just so appreciative of them. To Jeremy Nessel, our podcast editor, audio consultant, and someone who's been with me since the start. To Sally Pontarelli, our content and operations manager, who is there day to day doing all the things to help me be successful. To Kelsey Wang, our head of design, and Louise Murphy, our associate designer. And finally, to Sandy Gutierrez, our photographer and content strategist. I am appreciative of all of you and wouldn't be able to do what I do without you. I really enjoyed that conversation with Jeffrey. Thank you so much for listening today. I'll put links in the show notes to go find him, as well as our partners. Thank you to Precision and to AG1 for this episode. You can go to runningforreal.com/episode 435. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you in 2 weeks for an episode with Alex Hutchinson. He is back on the show and it's a good one. So subscribe if you haven't already to the podcast, and I'll see you then.